Hello, this is Kevin Dunlap with Life's Little Lessons, and welcome back to our show. Today, I've got a very special guest for you. This is a lady that I've known for a few months now that lives here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Her name is Sophia Falke. She has a company called Embracing Greatness International, and it also has a book by a similar name, also called Embracing Greatness. She's been a life mastery and business consultant for over 10 years. So I want to say, everybody say, welcome to the show, Sophia Falke. Welcome and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Kevin. It's a delight to be here.
I'm glad to have you as well. I know we've talked a little bit in the past about you being on the show, and thank you for actually taking the time out of your busy afternoon to actually join us on this, one of our original shows here in the second season of Life's Little Lessons. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
So, Sophia, tell me a little bit about yourself. You have a company called Embracing Greatness, and I know you just recently released a book also called Embracing Greatness. Could you tell me a little bit about? Yes, I saw your cover before. It's a very beautiful book. You can actually find it right now on Amazon, and shortly it's going to be on Barnes & Noble as well. Is that correct?
Yes. Apparently, they take a little longer to get it posted.
Yeah, yes, they do. Process. Yes, that's what I noticed when I did my book, Designing Your Own Greatness. When I put that on Barnes & Noble as well, it took an extra 3 or 5 or 7 days before they actually approved it. So yes, it does take a little bit more time with Barnes & Noble.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm excited about it. It's like birthing a baby, but having a 2-year gestation period instead of 9 months. So yeah.
Yes, writing a book, for those of you out there that are inspired to write a book, and I'm mainly talking about the same thing that Sophia did. If you're writing nonfiction, then that can be a little bit more time consuming because you're putting together facts, you're putting together data, you're putting all this other stuff together rather than writing a story. Not saying that fiction writing is any different. It's just when you're doing nonfiction, it can be a long gestation period. I mean, my book, Designing Your Own Destiny, it took me approximately 10 months to write from original concept to actually sending it to the Amazon and Kindle to actually start putting it up there. That's going through all the rewrites, going through the editing phases, going through dealing with an editor, dealing with all of the graphic designers, interior design stuff. I mean, there's so much more involved than a lot of people think about when writing a book. Would you agree?
Exactly. Yes, definitely. And when you're relying on other people also, that will extend the time. So it's a balancing act.
And I'm glad you just said that, because you say about relying on other people. Now, by no means would I ever suggest. I did have my first book, which is the one that says Least Options Made Easy. That was about 95% all my work, the graphic design and the converting it to a 6:9 format. That was done by other people. However, what you were just saying there is it may take more time. However, relying on other people to get your book printed or get your book to print is paramount. Well, would you agree?
Yes, definitely, and finding the right people. I think the folks that I used, they were, they helped me because it was my first book. I met a gentleman last year who paid a lot of money to a company that he's still waiting for them to be responsive to him. I mean, the amount of money he spent made me shudder. So it's finding the right people and doing your due diligence. And if you've never done it before, it's nice to have someone to guide you. If I had met you before, then I probably would have, done it a little differently. But it's done. I'm delighted, So now it's launching, and it's an example of why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, I'm a good writer. I won't say I'm a great writer, but I've been writing for a long time, and I've been published, and so it's not foreign to me, and I've edited other people's work. However, to birth a book that I'd be proud of and to have it laid out in a way that I would like, I have just enough artistic talent that I get frustrated if somebody else who's doing that for a living isn't doing their job. So it's finding the right people and trusting them that they know how, because I didn't know how to do a book.
Okay.
And when I work with people in coaching or in my seminars, I tell them to focus first on the dream, because that's essential. And I think that's probably when you're talking about finding your destiny and following it, you have to have a clue of what that is.
Right, because otherwise you're going down a path that you have no idea where you're going.
Yeah, Yeah, and it's like any path will do because you don't know where you're headed. So that's the fun part is I knew definitely what I wanted to have as my final product. And then to go beyond that, because when you asked me before the show, was the name of my business Embracing Greatness, I said, well, it's Embracing Greatness International. That was very intentional because I do see having that international impact. And I love the way technology is making that happen. It's so easy, truly, because we're already international. There's probably someone watching this as we speak who is in another country and across the oceans. So already, we're having an international impact. And I think that's what we're all about because we are a global community.
And I'm so glad that you said something about being international, because I have actually already started talking to a couple of people that want to be on the show that are actually do live in other countries. Now, those of you that are watching this show, an earlier broadcast I had was a lady by the name of Junia Thacker Lau. Technically, she was international. However, she's from Vancouver, British Columbia. So technically, she's international.
That is.
That's still another country above. And I do have plans on bringing a lady from Sydney, Australia, onto the show here in the few weeks ahead as well. So I'm glad that you said that, because one of the big things that I've noticed about when people start trying to run a business or what have you is you want to dream big. And if you're just thinking like your local area, like we are both here in Las Vegas, that's really can be very limiting yourself. Even if you're just going to say the United States of America or even just North America, why not dream even bigger? Why not try to get your stuff out there to Europe, get your stuff out to Australia or Asia or all of those other countries out there? So that is so inspirational that you said that.
Yeah. And the blessing for us is English is an international language now.
Yes.
And I do foresee my book being translated into other languages. And whatever you want to say about the British Empire, the way they colonized the world, because of that, when you look at what was the impact, we have a unifying language now that we wouldn't have had otherwise. So I'm very grateful for that, especially since I don't really speak a lot of other languages. So,
well, that is always a big calling, is that when your work is actually published into a different language, because there's the demand for it to be so. So you're having it in Spanish, you have it in Chinese, or one of the different dialects of Chinese. Yeah. That's, for me, could be a big measure of success, is actually hitting those international industries and areas.
Yes, yes. And the kind of work that you and I do, I think it's important because we're calling people higher. We're calling people to look at the possibilities that are open to them rather than being limited by the conditions that surround them. And, well, you hear the news the same as I do, and we had our the tragedy here in Las Vegas on October 1st with 58 people being killed by one shooter or however many, but they were killed. That's the bottom line. And you could live your life in fear as a result, or you could build that kind of consciousness where you walk in the world feeling good about everything that is going to occur for you, because then that's what you attract. And I think if more people in the world did that, that's why I want international as part of my impact, is the more people see that there is light, that there is possibility for them, the more likely they are going to live in a place of hope and possibility rather than fear and anger.
And and there's a great book out there that also made a video. I'm sure you and I both seen it. Most of the people that are probably listening or watching this podcast have seen is the show called The Secret. And it's all about the law of attraction. So what it is you're putting out there is what you're going to attract. If you're going to put out fear and desperation, you're just going to attract that, because that's what the universe, and I'm going to I talked about some previous shows about being woo-woo. Now, it's a little woo-woo for maybe some people. However, it is what you put out there is what you're going to attract. And if you go out there with confidence and, hey, I'm going to do something big and change the world, then you're going to attract those kinds of people.
Exactly. And in the United States right now and in other countries, I'm sure this is the time of harvest. Or we finish the harvest. It's November, and we're going to have a formal Thanksgiving Day later on in the month. So we are focusing more on what we have to be grateful for.
Okay.
And when you focus on that, then what's happening is you're not letting your mind stray to those things that cause you fear or anxiety.
Okay.
Because you are focusing on the good that's in your life already. And yes, that does send out a different vibration or a different energy. And without getting woo-woo, if you walk into a room and there's a lot of discord, you feel it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to know anything about energy or vibration. You just know. The same thing if you walk into a room where there's a lot of joy. You feel that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when I was hunting for a house, I knew, like, when I walked into the house that I did end up buying, that this was mine. It felt expansive. It felt light. All those things that are important to me, it resonated.
Okay.
So that's practical for anyone. Sometimes, you know, you're not going to drive down a certain street if something tells you not to do that, or when you feel the impulse to take an umbrella with you in the morning, even though it looks clear outside. There's always some kind of energy and messages coming through to us.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with you, because I mean, I've not really talked to, I know you and I have not had this conversation, and I've only seen this from a couple of other people. And this is actually not the purpose of this show, so I'm just going to go into what I've heard a couple of times over the last couple of years, is that we actually have three different brains. Now, you may agree or disagree with that, but we have three different brains. We have our mental brain that we have up here, we have our heart brain that we have here, and we have our gut brain that we have here, and often they will not be in alignment. However, your gut brain is the one that's like your primal instincts. Let's say, okay, this is what I should be doing or should not be doing. And let's say, okay, like you say, you're walking down that dark alley, like, maybe I shouldn't be going down this alley, or maybe I shouldn't be doing something like that, or starting that business, or doing something different for yourselves. You know, you go off that gut feeling.
Yeah, exactly. And what the beauty of it is, we all have, you know, a unique energy. And I know one of my clients, my coaching clients last week, she said that one of the things that I had told her, that she does have a unique contribution to make in the world, that it's not something to compare with anyone else. And that had brought her to a new realization about what she truly wanted in her life, because she had been comparing, and she had been holding herself back because she thought she wasn't good enough, and all of those messages that we self-impose. And it was a major breakthrough, because she saw, oh, that's right, I am unique, I am different, so I need to follow my own path.
That's great that you were able to help her see that that light. That's awesome. Now, let me ask you this: how long have you been in business? How long have you been doing the coaching, and what other kinds of stuff do you do in your coaching business?
Over 10 years now, and I go back to my initial coaching certification, which was International Coach Federation recognized, and I've continued my work, my study. So, and I've also been in ministry. I've been a church minister. I've been a hospital chaplain. I've used a lot of the same coaching tools that I learned in those programs to help people. And now really focusing on a lot of entrepreneurs, or people who are stepping into a new dream for themselves. And I have a business background myself, and my master's is in industrial and labor relations from Cornell. So, I've got that kind of background that people forget that is there, because I've been in ministry now and been in coaching for so long. But I keep going back, and I draw from those skills. And now that I'm an entrepreneur and I've been studying how to be a successful business person, I get to share with the people who work with me.
Okay, so you're using not only your coaching stuff that you've learned from your coaching training, but you're also doing the stuff that you learned from your ministries and just life examples.
Yes, and I've been in central administration, in healthcare, in state government, and academia, actually. So there was a lot that I learned there, and actually I had a couple of years in venture capitalism, so that was a whole unique experience to see how that world worked. So yes, it all comes together, and it really so much depends on your vision. I believe, and how strong that is and how clear it is and how much you believe in yourself, and then attract the team to support you. Whether you're a solopreneur, you still have people that you rely on. In my case, my first website I built. Oh,
Go by
stop
your
laughing.
face. Go by your face. For those of you that are on the audio, she has this smirk on her face, like she did not do a good job. So anyway, go ahead.
Well, it was there though. It was a placeholder, and I looked at did I want to develop that expertise to be a webmaster, something I'd be proud of, or did I want to invest in someone who knew what he was doing and had worked with entrepreneurs and successful international business people? I opted to work with someone who knew what he was doing. Okay. And it makes my life so much easier. And it's just.
And I'm glad you say that as well, because you mentioned having a team in place. Even if you're a solopreneur, and for those of you that don't know what a solopreneur is, it's a solo entrepreneur. It's somebody that's technically working for themselves. However, even the solopreneurs do need to have a team. Like we were talking about with the book, I needed a graphic designer. I needed a formatter. I needed somebody to format it into the Kindle version, which I did not realize is a completely different animal in itself. I mean, there's so many different things, and that was just for writing a book. That's just one. That's just for one product of my business. However, if you're going to be doing business, you're going to need people to do your advertising, your marketing, your branding. Because if you try and do it all yourself, you're just going to be so overwhelmed that, in my opinion, unless you are a very strong and tenacious person, you're probably going to quit because it's just too much overwhelm. And, I mean, if you're designing your own website and you're also designing your own curriculum and you're putting together your own marketing, I mean, that's just way too much stuff. But if you could find the right people and surround yourself with the right people, I'm glad that you said that, because that's what, for those of you that are just getting started, is finding people that you can have in your life. Even if it's just starting out with something small, you don't have to have that big, grandiose, 25-page mega website. It could still be just starting off with a one-page website.
Right. Exactly. The example of a website, just like a business card, it tells people that you're showing up to do what you say you're here for. In my case, I wrote the book because there are so many principles that I've learned, and there's so many people I won't necessarily meet. The book will give them, it's here, it's written out for them, and if they choose to do the exercises, and actually a workbook is the next project for me, so that if you don't want to work with a coach, you want to do it on your own, I'll provide the support for you there also. One thing, we're talking about a team. I also have a mastermind group, and I think, Kevin, you do also. And I have actually a few of them. Some are more informal, where whoever shows up, we support each other. I have one where there's 4 women who are all entrepreneurs, and we're different levels of maturity in our businesses, and the amazing support that we can offer to each other. And I know someone who can do that for you, or here's a resource you might not have thought of, etc. It's reaching out and asking for support and allowing people to support you.
That's such a key thing. Is I just got finished attending a class, and one of the things was I will support other people, and I will allow other people to support me. And there's so many people out there. It's the whole giver taker thing. It's like, how many people out there are willing to give somebody help, but they're afraid to ask for help? And for a giver to actually exist, the taker must also exist, because there is no receiver. Let's call it a receiver. For a giver to exist, the receiver also has to exist. Otherwise, the giver cannot exist. So you have to be on both sides.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think a lot of us aren't so good at asking and receiving.
That is true. Yeah, I know I'm guilty of that.
Yeah, me, so, as am I. And, when you talk about having a team, and having support, it's also allowing us to have time to just relax and be present for ourselves, to have fun once in a while and not feel guilty about it because we're not producing. And it's like we weren't put here to be stressed. We're put here to evolve and to find joy, I believe. in our lives. You know, that why would we come to, you know, this lifetime if all we wanted was to suffer?
Well, and that's the big thing is in the grand big picture of thing, and I've not really researched this myself. I just talk to people that have.
Hmm.
Is if you were on your deathbed, do you look about, and let's say you had 24, 48 hours to live, are you looking about, well, I got to get that report done tomorrow, or is it more like, I wish I want to spend more time with my husband, my wife, my kids, my
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
whatever it is, and that's why we as entrepreneurs, ideally, if you're starting, in my opinion, having that reason why you're doing it,
Hmm.
it's going to go back to something that's intangible, that's part of your own personal life. It's not going to be that big house, the big car, the tangibles. It's going to be the intangibles. It's going to be the friends and love in your
Right.
life.
Exactly. Exactly.
So let me ask you this, because I know we're getting a little bit further into the show here,
Hmm.
is as you were starting out with your coaching businesses or with your company, the Embracing Greatness International, what were some of your early successes that you had that were like really profound that say, you know, I can do this? So that,
You know, and going way back to when I was studying to be a coach, and the first program I went through, which was through the Academy for Coaching Excellence out of Sacramento, and as I said, that's ICF, International Coach Federation certified. We were required to do a certain number of hours of coaching, and we could do a lot of it free. Some of it we had to charge for. And I remember one of my first successes that I had so much fun with was a woman who was in her 70s. And actually that's in my book also. She had been through a lot of life experiences that none of us would want to have shared. I mean, it was very challenging for her, and all of it was overcoming. She wanted to write a book to share her message, especially for young women, to say there, you know, there is hope for you.
okay.
And she, you know, she was in her 70s. This was over 10 years ago. So now she's in her 80s. I mean, so we're going back in time. So think what it would be like for a woman in those times before they had the laws to protect women, you
Mm.
know, let them keep their children during divorce and all of these things. And, you know, without going into her story, you know, the book, and she went through all of these mind games about, well, first I have to read about how to write. So she was delaying because she had to read Strunk and White's whatever, you know, on writing, and then there was going to be another one, and I'm not educated enough. Turns out she had a bachelor's degree, but that not enough coming through. And finally I said, okay, so could we, you know, do you think you might be able to write 3 pages a day? She says, I'm not a writer. I said, well, do you think you could, you know, just write a little bit? And actually, it turned out 3 pages was too much. She didn't end up doing it, but 1 page she could do. And then, you know, building on those small successes, and I have a copy of her book on my bookshelf now. You know, so that was so exciting, and to see that just guiding people without telling them how to do something, but the support so that they believed in themselves and they found the resources they needed. You know, in her case, she needed an editor at some point. She found it. She needed someone to design the cover. She found it, and so on. And I had a lot of those successes in the beginning where it was people that they started to see that, oh, I can do this, that my dream is legitimate and powerful. And sometimes it was as small as wanting to pass the exams to become a nurse practitioner.
Okay.
And to coach someone through the steps, because the fear can really set in and hold you back, and it can cause you to fail. And other things, it was, you know, the case of writing the book or starting a business. You know, I have one entrepreneur right now. She's got a product, a food product that she's launching. She doesn't have a clue what she's doing. And she has made such strides through just doing this work of one step in front of the other, finding the resources and having the coaching support.
And I can't agree with you more. Like you said, the one step in front of another. Sometimes it's not even going to be that one step. It's going to be that 1/4 step, that baby
Yeah.
step, let's just
Yeah.
say. It's just that momentum will build upon itself, and then you will look back
Yeah.
and say, oh my gosh, what have I done over the last 6 months? Well, wow, I've come all this way, and I had no idea I could even be here 6 months ago.
Mhm.
So, and that was, when you were saying that, that was, if it was 10 years ago, that would have been 2007. The internet
Mhm.
obviously was around at that point in time.
But
How,
not
not
to the
as
level.
it is now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
Exactly.
phenomenal. And then what about some of your recent successes as a coach, or with your clients, or even with yourself? Would you say, have you had some good breakthroughs recently?
I think for me, one of the things was I was both in church ministry. I was minister at Center for or Unity Center in the Valley, which is now merged with the other Unity Church in Las Vegas. I left there with kind of without a net,
Okay.
but knowing that this was mine to do. It was now mine to step out on my own, to follow this new passion. The book is, one way to support me in doing this, and not necessarily through revenue, although I wouldn't mind making $1 million, through book sales. I think that's something we'd all love. However, it's another way to reach people and to show that, yes, I do know what I'm talking about. And the reason I'm doing this is, personally, I get so frustrated with people that keep suppressing how wonderful they are. Because I see the greatness in them. And when I work with people, they'll come to me with a desire sometimes, or just they are so disgusted with where they are. And I'm able to hold a higher vision for them. And I don't say, oh, I think you could do X, Y, or Z, because that's for them to see on their own. But if they do the work, it opens up for them and they come alive. And that's what the world needs, is more people who are alive. And those are the people I want to hang out with.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with you more. I've got an accountability partner that I talk to on a weekly basis. And I've said this in previous shows, that you should have an accountability partner. It's like having a coach, but a little bit different.
Yes.
And one of the things I realized when I was talking to her, with her, is that, I don't see my little wins. I don't see my little successes until I talk to her. And she goes, Kevin, last month you were talking about you're doing this. Now you're taking action on it. She goes, I am so proud of you. And then I looked at her and says, but well, everybody knows this. My friend Junita, she was on our second show, and with Junita, I look at her as like, Junita, you're making all these great strides in success, and she doesn't realize it. And I think the reason for that is, that's why I think that having a coach or an accountability partner is so important, is that we see ourselves on an hour by hour, minute by minute, day by day basis. We don't look at our progress. But if I go talk to somebody I haven't talked to in 2 weeks and say, oh, you've done all of this in the last 2 weeks, like, well, I don't see it. Just like if I was when I was losing all my weight in 2010, I lost 60 pounds in 3 months. I know I was losing a lot of weight. However, I didn't realize it because I'm seeing it on a daily basis. I'm seeing it on an hourly basis. I just don't see it. But when I run across somebody and say, I haven't seen you in 2 years, and they do a double take, like, are you the same person? So
and exactly. And again, getting back to, it's the month of gratitude and Thanksgiving. I posted on my Facebook in the Embracing Greatness and on my timeline, inviting people to really every day find 5 to 10 things to be grateful for and write it down. See, that's the challenge. We don't document things. So they do, they just flow through our minds. And I don't know about you, if I do something, it's like, okay, done next, instead of stopping and celebrating what I might have accomplished.
Yes.
And also, my invitation to people, the challenge was to focus on your gratitudes. And my invitation was, every day is to reach out to someone that who has made it, or actually you don't have to know them, but somebody who's made a difference, and to tell them that they've made a difference for you. Tell them that you appreciate them. Tell them that you love them if you love them. Tell them that their life has meaning. And that's, I've seen several people saying, oh my goodness, I'm going to do that.
And and I love the fact that you said that, because the receiver of that thank you is not even knowing that it's even coming, and then,
Yeah.
and then that receiver is like, so I am making a difference to somebody else. So it's not only for the gratitude of the giver, the one that's saying the thank you, saying I'm appreciated, but the person receiving it. I mean, if somebody, Sophia, were to call you out of the blue, and if somebody maybe you haven't talked to in 2 or 3 years, they called you,
Yeah.
contacted you on Facebook, whatever it was, and said something like that to you, that would like raise your
Oh yeah.
your level so
Yeah.
high.
Yeah. Yeah. And every now and then I'll get an email and I'm going, wow, thank you so much. Or I'll get a text message. Even when I was at the church and the Sunday lessons and we live streamed them, one day we received an email from a gentleman in Chicago telling me what a difference my sermons were making in his life. That was like, wow, okay, Chicago, let's go. And to know that what we're doing does make a difference. And the thing is, it doesn't matter who you are. Back when I was doing training in quality management and having breakthroughs with systems and organizations, we would study just small things that people might do. And there's a story about a young man who worked at the checkout counter in the grocery store. And he had Down syndrome. So the line where he packed the groceries was the longest in that store. People would stay in line for 15 minutes just so that he would pack their groceries. And the reason they did that was because every day he would put little messages of inspiration in the bags that he packed. So at night, his mom helped him, put these messages together. It was his idea, and he started putting them in the packages. The store manager noticed this, why is this long line? And they started doing it at all of the checkout stations. But it was just this one person that you might not think was making a difference in the world. And people were lining up because they wanted that little piece of inspiration and the message that they meant something. Okay, so it's so easy. And there's a gentleman who works in one of the grocery stores here. His name is Richard.
Okay.
And he worked at Food for Less, and now he's at Smith's, and he collects the carts. And he's always there trying to serve us. He'll track you down in the parking lot to say hello. And that makes a difference. Just a smile. So that's all we have to do. It's easy.
That's very inspirational. Thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah.
It was also very touching.
Well, it's true. I think we get caught up in we have to have a certain title or have accomplished certain things for us to make an impact. And the thing is, just by being ourselves, our true selves, that's all we have to do.
And I was also saying that to dovetail on that, don't hold yourself up to all these expectations like what I haven't done. So be proud where you are, because you may be 45 years old and says, I've never done this. Like, well, then if that's important to you, let's just start getting on that path. So don't beat yourself up on I don't want to call it failed expectations or limited expectations. So. Now I'm going to flip the coin a little bit here, and I know we already kind of talked about this before the show. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about, because again, this show is for entrepreneurs. A lot of them are either they're scaling their businesses or they're just starting out.
Right.
So let's say that you've had what are some challenges that you've had either at the beginning or fairly recently that could have either caused you to close your business or caused you to do something else? And I do remember you said something about when you left the Unity Church that you were left kind of without a net, so you were kind of like, okay, I have to do this. But what are some other challenges, or I don't want to call them failures, because if you ever heard a previous episode, I don't believe in failures.
Right.
Well, in NLP, there's a one of the presuppositions that says that there is no such thing as failure. It's just feedback. And how you interpret that feedback. So what are some of your challenges and feedback that you may construe as being negative that you've experienced? And overcame.
So some of the things I would do differently
Okay.
is where I invest my money.
Okay.
In terms of, the trainings I've gotten have been remarkable, and some of the insights that I received from some of the coaches I've worked with, I didn't always pick the right coach.
Okay.
All right. And I invested heavily in one person, and it wasn't what I wanted. So the clarity before you start working with someone on what your expectations are, and to work that into the contract with the individual.
Thank you for saying that. Absolutely, so much. I'm so glad you said that. Yes, you just said have clarity in what's going to be done between each party, and have it in a contract. Have it actually written down and signed. Because there's so many times that I've talked, even to my own clients, where they don't, all they have is a verbal contract, which it could be misinterpreted to something else. So I'm so glad you said that. If you're going to be hiring a coach, or if you're going to be hiring somebody, right, have it written down as to what is the expectations are, what is the fees, the turnaround time, all of that stuff.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And so that was one thing. The other is to continuously take action is important. I mull things. My last name perhaps should be Muller, because I mull a lot. And then it gets to the point that you can be stuck there. Mm-hmm. So it's taking action, and if it doesn't work, like you said, it's feedback. It's like with Thomas Edison. How many times? 2,000 times he worked on creating the incandescent light bulb, and someone asked him, how did you deal with all those failures? He said they weren't failures, like you said, they're feedback.
Yeah, he found 1,999 ways not to do it.
Yeah, and he transformed the world. I mean, and his vision was to illumine the world without the use of gas lamps. Mm-hmm. And he didn't know how. And just, he just kept at it. And it's finding the right people to support you. And when there is a setback, keep going. Because as you said, it's feedback. Mm-hmm. So that's the main thing, I think, where sometimes I'll think too much. It's that balance between taking action without any thought, but it's important to, just be out there so people know you're there. If somebody says no, cool. Next person might say yes.
Or that person might say yes at a later time.
And they might, yes. Yeah. I have my list of people, and I have actually right here on my desk. This is my folder of people to circle back to.
Oh, wow. That's a big folder.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of them said yes, and I'm circling back to them because I've worked with them, and, invite them into, the new programs I'm developing. Because what I've been doing the last couple of years is I'm certified through Mary Morrissey's Life Mastery programs, excuse me, and now is developing my own coaching program based on this work, which is culmination of all the studies that I've done. So this is done in my voice.
Okay. I mean, that's the thing is you're putting your own spin on things.
Yes.
Somebody may follow Mary, or they may follow you. It's who they're going to resonate with. And that's also true with you guys that are out there that are listening or watching this show. Yeah. Is not everybody's going to identify with you. And that's perfectly okay, because you don't identify with everybody yourself. Yeah. So be okay with that. And as we're starting to wrap this up, as we're coming to an end, now, what are some lessons that you've learned that you would like to give to the viewer or the listener of this show as they're starting out as a business owner?
Starting out as a business owner, be clear on your vision. Be clear on your vision.
Okay.
Do it because this brings you joy. Okay. I think that's important. Yes, there's some people, and I've studied with people who they launched their businesses because they wanted to feed the family, and this is especially with single mothers. That is, oh my goodness, I can't get food on the table, and I can't get a job that'll pay me enough for us to live the way we want to, and they started businesses. And they multi-million-dollar businesses because they stuck at it. The thing is, they took joy in what they were doing also. So not only the joy of the vision, the joy of the accomplishment, and the joy of providing for their families. And now they're taking joy in helping others because, like I said, I'm working with some of them. And with that clarity, create the team to support you. And that is the people who will celebrate with you, not the ones who are going to tell you why you cannot do it, but the ones who will tell you, yes, you can. That's where a coach comes in. I'm always telling people, yes, you can, and supporting them in that because I do believe in them. And I believe in the greatness in everyone. So that's the other thing. When you look in the mirror, see greatness and see how amazing you are. My Facebook Live, I always, at the end, I said, if nobody's told you yet today, you are amazing, because that's exactly what people are. And keep moving one foot in front of the other. And as you were saying, it might be a quarter step, but when we're going up a hill, we can't see what's on the other side of the hill. What's on the other side is our vision. And the thing is, with every step, though, we see more possibility. We see more options that are open to us, and we attract more people because of the clarity of our vision and to get our emotions into it. And in my book, I have my Alaska story, and it talks about, I had such a strong vision about this trip that I took to Alaska. I quit my job with nothing waiting for me. I took my 75-year-old mother on her first camping trip from Tucson, Arizona to the Arctic Circle in Alaska and back. And the way everything fell into place, because I was so clear and passionate about it. People wanted to help me. They're coming out of the woodwork, and I did everything backward. But it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. And people came into my life only to help me sometimes with one little step. And others became lifelong friends. But that passion is what's going to get you through. That emotion is what's going to get you through, and attracting the people that are going to support you. And then investing your time, your money, your energy with that is going to support you. And then, of course, it's giving to others also, to be part of that giving and receiving cycle.
That is beautiful. As absolutely perfectly said. I mean, following your passion and doing all that other stuff, I mean, absolutely phenomenal. And so, Sophia, if somebody out here in the audience wanted to reach out to you, either for coaching, advice, finding out more about what it is that you do, possibly even looking for your book, how can they actually get a hold of you? You could give them your website, your Facebook page, your phone number. Now, remember, this is going out to the world, so however you would like to get contacted is.
Yes. One of the easiest ways is Sophia, that's Sophia, at embracinggreatness.com. So Sophia at embracinggreatness.com. My website is embracinggreatness.com. The book, Embracing Greatness, A Guide for Living the Life You Love, is available on Amazon in both paperback and Kindle. So and that has contact information in it also. So I think those are the easiest ways. I'm not going to give out my telephone number because somebody calls me from South Africa. By the way, that's on my vision board to offer seminars in Johannesburg with a buddy of mine who lives there. I don't want to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, so I'm not going to give out my phone number. But those are the best ways to reach me.
Okay, well, thank you. So everybody out there, that's Sophia, Sophia, at embracinggreatness.com, which is also her website, embracinggreatness.com. And right. I'm sure you can probably find you on Facebook through the Embracing Greatness as well.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so you can also reach out to her on there. Now, I know she has different kinds of
and LinkedIn.
Oh, LinkedIn as well.
LinkedIn also.
And I do know just from looking at her stuff that she has blogs out there. She does webinars. She does seminars. So there's other things that you could follow her as far as getting some more great information. So, Sophia, I do want to say thank you for being on our show today. And yes, I do want to say thank you for being on our show. You've done a great job. You reminded me of something that I've heard about myself, and I'm sure everybody out here, or most of the people out here in the audience, has probably done. Is all of us have very wide and diverse backgrounds. And that's what makes us so unique, who we are. With you
Yeah.
being, you said you were a venture capitalist, you did ministries, you did coaching stuff. I mean, you've done a wide range. My background included being in the United States Navy, traveling the world, doing stunts for a few years, being a college math teacher, doing things like skydiving, and now doing real estate. And then so all of us have our diverse backgrounds, and that's what makes us unique, because we get those backgrounds and we tie them together. That's the next person that you're talking to has never even thought about how to even interwove those kinds of things. So thank you.
That's what makes who we are. I mean, and that's the fun of it. Even when there's been a tragedy, even if you've been in jail, no matter what's happened to you, that makes you the amazing person you are today. And that's the great gift that you are. So, Kevin, thank you for inviting me to be on this podcast. It's great fun. And I'm so happy to have you in my life now.
Well, I'm so happy to have you in my life. I know we've met at a few different events, at different speaking events and such, and I've seen her speak a couple of times. She's done an amazing job every time that I've seen her. So everybody, I want to say thank you for joining us today. If you have any information, you could actually look at the description. I will have her contact information, her website, and her email in the description section of this YouTube broadcast or podcast broadcast, or even if you're on my website, which is at kevinadunlap.com. So if you have any more information or have any more questions, feel free to reach out. You could comment on the webpage, you could comment on the YouTube video, and also you can reach out to Sophia directly at embracinggreatness.com. So Sophia, thank you for being on the show. We really do appreciate you having you here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. See you later, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oops.